Welcome to the Hawker Heights Chamber of Commerce Politics and Policy Update. I'm your host, Gina Pence, with the Hawker Heights Chamber of Commerce, and we are happy today to cover our election of the Hawker Heights City Council Place 4. This is a 3-year term, and the election, as a reminder, will be November 3rd, 2020. And we're honored today to have Mr. Jeffrey Harris with us and taking the time to visit with us and share a little bit more about him, his background, and the reason why he's running for City Council Place 4. Mr. Harris, thank you for taking the time with us today. We appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Gina.
You're so welcome. And do you mind sharing, sir, your background and the reason why you've chose to run for City Council?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Gina Pence, the Hawker Heights Chamber, and the citizens of Hawker Heights for providing me the opportunity to hear a little bit about myself today. I've been a resident of Hawker Heights for 28 years. I'm retired military as well as my wife. We did 22 years each. Our children was raised or educated here in the KSID system. They're both college graduates and reside in the local area. I'm also retired from the Department of Homeland Security Terrorism Task Force for Domestic Emergency Response. I've been elected to the Hawker Heights Zoning Board of Adjustments. I'm a reserve member of the Bell County Emergency Management Response Team. I hold a master's degree from Tarleton State University. I'm a lifetime member of the National Criminal Justice Honor Society. I'm a member of the Joint Services Chemical Corps Regimental Association, and I'm also a member of the Hawker Heights Rotary. I'm a past member of the Hawker Heights Public Safety Board. The reason I decided to run for City Council is based upon I've been in civics all my life. Since the time I was a young boy, adolescent in the Boy Scouts, my 22 years in the military, proven leadership, and my tenure with the Department of Homeland Security. But now that I'm retired, I have time and a lot of effort to devote to the city, back to society as a whole. I found that for many reasons that it's not about giving back, it's about giving. So this is an optimum time for me to do that, provide a service. I have a great level of experience, qualifications, and the time is right, and this is my season. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir, and thank you for your service.
Absolutely.
We appreciate that.
Pleasure.
So we are now going to get ready to start with some of the questions that we're going to ask Mr. Harris. And first of all, I just wanted to share with our audience today that Mr. Harris and I have followed all of our social distancing guidelines and our mask, but we have chose in discussion that we want to remove our mask, so we'll make sure that as the audience you can hear and understand all of the questions and the comments and answers today. So, Mr. Harris, our first question, why do you want to be a council member in Hawker Heights? You touched upon that a little bit, but let's elaborate.
Well, I've had a lot of experience throughout my life with the 22 years in the military, proven leadership, integrity, and my tenure with the Department of Homeland Security. I actually worked post 9/11. I worked the space shuttle crash. I worked the I-35 bridge collapse in Minnesota. And I also worked the earthquake in Haiti and Hurricanes Ivan, Gustav, and Katrina. So I've seen life in different prisms, different aspects, and I've been through a lot and I understand a lot. And so therefore, being well-rounded, I believe I bring a lot to the table as far as being a critical thinker, analytical person. I actually specialize in strategic operations, strategic planning. So I believe I bring a different level of experience to our city council that would help the citizens as a whole.
Fantastic, thank you. Question number 2, do you think our community is healthy and successful? If yes, what steps would you take to ensure to continue that growth and obviously for it to stay healthy? If you do not agree, what would you do to make a change?
Well, the answer to that question, Gina, is that we're very healthy. We're very robust, I should say. This is a very diverse, unique community because we're a military community. So we have citizens and people from all around the world, different cultures, different experiences, but we're a melting pot here. So we understand each other. Now, on that token, being said that we're a small town, but we have a large town attitude, I should speak. And when I say that is that we try to provide great opportunities, quality of life, recreation, activities, healthcare, etc. So one of the major things here in Harker Heights is the economy. And we strive on that, small business. So I think with that, we live here, we provide activities, we exercise here, and we spend our money here. So I think that we're in a pretty good position. Yes, thank you for asking that question.
Absolutely. Question number 3. Which of the following are most important for our city right now? Would that be new construction of residential and commercial, or rehabbing our older residential and redeveloping those underused areas, including our opportunity zones?
Well, they're both priorities. With the COVID crisis right now, as you know, commercial and residential real estate has been down a little bit. Revitalizing the older part of Harker Heights is very paramount. And I said Killeen because we have the same issues on the northern part of our cities, and that is that it's the oldest part of the cities of each city. But I'm going to be specific on Harker Heights. Harker Heights, northern part, is the only part of the city that's zone R1, R2, and commercial. So it's very dynamic. And what we need to do and are trying to do, and it's happening in the process, is revitalize that area. We have some small businesses that have moved there or even built there, such as a couple restaurants. I won't mention them by name because I don't want to single anyone out, but we've had a couple restaurants that moved in that area. We've had a HVAC company that built from the ground up. We've had the Brinks truck facility that does their pickups and drops for the banks and the monies and different facilities, put their building there. So there is some growth there. But whatever growth takes place, it must be able to assimilate into the community. You don't want a building there that has a bunch of bright lights, high fences, and it doesn't fit in. So in accordance with a lot of building ordinances now that's been upgraded, those facilities and makeovers must accommodate and assimilate into that area. But that is very important to revitalize that area to make it more congruent with the rest of the city that has grown over the years.
Absolutely. So question number 4. Sir, if elected, what do you hope to accomplish as a city council member?
That's a great question. And my accomplishments and my goals would be based on what the citizens want. The city council works for the citizens. We work for the community. We have different sensing sessions that take place at certain periods of time, such as Harker Heights Horizons, which give vision to what the citizens would like to see. Now, once they come up with ideas, a lot of times you have to understand that it takes time for these things to take order, and it also takes money and revenue. So when these things come to fruition, sometimes they're almost outdated or antiquated when we get to that point. So as a councilman, I have to have an attentive ear of what the citizens want. It's based on supply and demand, what the needs are. And at that point, I think we can achieve and accomplish some of the goals that we would like to have in our city to keep us very viable.
Very good, sir. Question number 5. A sense of community is important to a city. Since Harker Heights does not have a traditional downtown, what area or place would you suggest to develop as that new main street for our citizens to gather, meet, and develop that sense of community?
Another excellent question, Gina, and I appreciate that. Harker Heights and circumference is approximately 15.33 miles in circumference. So we're very small, and we're landlocked. We have some growth to the south. We have growth to the east. And I believe and foresee that the new opportunities will be along the 2410 corridor. And there is some space and real estate there, and this is owned commercial and for different varieties of businesses or facilities that can be built there. So I foresee us expanding in that area. I foresee the widening of 2410. I know there's some ideas and some recommendations that's been provided to the city that I won't go into detail with. However, if you go to the city site, you should be able to see some of those things by looking at the master plan or soon to be updated comprehensive plan for the city.
Okay, thank you. Question number 6, and we've touched upon this a little bit already, but how do you plan on keeping your citizens engaged? I'm going to let me rephrase that, not just your citizens, our citizens engaged in city planning and policy changes.
Glad you asked that question also, Gina. Well, I understand that there's 3 types of citizens. There's the involved, the uninvolved, and the concerned. So when you have an involved citizen, it calls for a more conscious, a more reactive, a more involved type of citizen. And just to give a couple of examples, I ran for city council last year. There's approximately 31,500 citizens, plus or minus, in the city of Harker Heights. Last year's city council election, only 872 citizens voted. Now we expect a larger output this year because of it being the national election. So that being said, with our citizens being more involved, it promotes a more conscious citizen. They're more aware. Usually the only time you see a citizen at city council meeting is when they have an issue or a problem, unfortunately, and it directly involves them. I would like to see our citizens more involved in the community, more involved in some of the activities, some of our organizations, such as the Rotary or some of the fraternal organizations, fundraisers, volunteer. When we have, for instance, the reef laying at the Veterans Cemetery, volunteering for some of our parks and recreation activities that we have, where we go in and we kind of touch up our parks, do some painting and planting trees and plants of such sort. So when you're involved, you're a more productive citizen also. And stay conscious of the council meetings and the city agenda and the information from the city that's online. Yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Harris, what do you believe are the top 3 economic factors that impact the city of Harker Heights?
I think the top 3 at this time, and they're pretty trying. These are trying times for us. But I would say number 1 priority, and you may have heard this before, is the 100% Veteran Disability Act. For some reason, the state has eliminated providing funds back to the city. And they're using the technicality that Harker Heights doesn't directly geographically butt up against Fort Hood. There's a 2.5 mile gap there. But however, some cities as Copper's Cove and Killeen are receiving monies back to the city. We're losing approximately $2.55 million annually. And since we started recording the numbers in 2013, 2014, it's up to 10.2 million cumulatively. So with those funds and revenues being passed by the Senate, or the legislature, I should say, that would take a burden off the city greatly. And it also would do a good service for our citizens and our veterans, because us not receiving that money, it's giving us reduced services, especially during this COVID crisis. Revenue has been down all across the board, not just in our community, but nationwide. So as we look for funding from the state or the federal agencies, it's looking kind of dim for us, I should say. So that's one of the top priorities there. The other one is keeping our economy stimulated. As I said before, we're based on, I use the analogy of mom and pop stores, but small business stores. So we're pretty self-sufficient with that. But of course, we've had some closings of some businesses. Other businesses are just staying afloat. So keeping our economy stimulated. And there was 3?
Yes.
Wow. I think the third one is just judicial oversight and responsibility of how we spend our tax dollars as a city. And what I can speak to on that is that we've been in a pretty good position with our city directors, our staff, our council, and our mayor about how we spend our monies. Great example of that would be we have a 3-month minimum cap that we must maintain in our account, and that's somewhere about $5.3 million, if I stand corrected. And we have approximately $4.6 million in reserves. Now what that does for the city is that gives us an excellent bond rating in case we have to borrow monies. And it's great to have a little fluff, I should say, during these unknown times of uncertainty, because we never know when we may have a major water break or a pumping system go down, for instance. But the city has been doing a great job. The departments have been doing a great job at looking at where they can trim back, doing more with less. Give you an example, our police department, Chief Gadd has restructured his staff. He's eliminated some rank structures, some corporals, some sergeants, and put commanders in position. He eliminated the deputy chief position. All this has saved us monies and revenue, and at the same time put officers back on the street. We have 2 civilians that work the Healthy Homes program, which deal with domestic issues and people that's in dire straits. And along with that, that also put 2 additional officers back on the street. We're in dire need of a new fire truck. However, instead of putting the city in debt, Chief Sims has elected to take the lesser, have the pumping unit retrofitted, which is saving money, saving citizens money. Same thing about rotating our fleet out with vehicles. Shelf life on vehicles, mileage or hours on, say, a bulldozer, for instance. We're maximizing that, but doing the maximum amount of maintenance we can to maintain it without having to go out and buy new vehicles. So I think that would be the 3 items that I address, and I think it's important. Yes.
Very good. So the last and final question for our citizens today: what is the one thing that you love about Harker Heights?
What I love about Harker Heights. First time I came to Fort Hood was 1977. So I have a great snapshot of before and after. I remember Harker Heights as being a pig farm, and we rode horses out here. There was no Highway 190. You had to take Veterans Memorial Road all the way to the crossover to Nolanville to get on Highway 190 to access I-35. There was no mall. So I've seen this area of Central Texas grow. The community of Harker Heights as a whole, we're homogenous. We greet each other. Low crime. We have all the amenities that we need. In case you don't want to travel far, there's things for all ages to do, young and old alike. And that's the beauty of this city.
Wonderful. Well, and I know that we're all very proud of our city, so thank you for not only sharing that one, but multiple things that you love about Hocker Heights. So, and I know that our audience today has learned a little bit more about you, and thank you for taking the time to answer our questions and visit with us today. And what I'd like to do, Mr. Harris, is give you the opportunity now to speak to your voters and in your closing statement and why they should go out and vote for you.
Absolutely, Gina. Well, as I stated earlier, I ran last year. I fell about 103 votes short, and that was close. But I think this year that if the citizens pay close attention to who they're voting for, what they're saying, I believe it's important to know who you're voting for, what they're about, what they stand for. I'm the best qualified with the most experience. I think I bring a lot to the table to asset this city. I have over 35 years of total experience in leadership. So I believe that, that is pretty sufficeful if the voters pay attention to the issues and what the candidates speak. Like I said once before, I have over 35 years of experience, not one experience 35 times. So I'm asking for your support. I'm asking for your vote in this election so I can represent you as Councilman number 4 on the Harker Heights City Council. And if I may add, Gina, early voting starts on the 13th through the 30th of October. Election day throughout the country is 3 November. So get out and vote, make your vote count, have a voice, make Harris your choice.
Very good, sir. Thank you very much, and thank you for helping us get the word out about the early voting. And audience, thank you again for watching us, and we look forward to seeing you at the polls November 3rd. So welcome to Hocker Heights Politics and Policy. I'm your host, Gina Pence, with the Hocker Heights Chamber of Commerce, and today we are going to be covering the election for the city of Hocker Heights, and that is Place 4. And Place 4, during the election, once elected, they will serve 3 years. And the election, of course, I know you all know, but this is just your friendly reminder, is November 3rd of 2020. So today we're honored to have Mr. Terry Delano with us, so thank you, sir, for taking the time to be with us. We appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And sir, could you just kind of share with our audience today a little bit of background about you personally and why you have chosen to run for city council?
Yeah, thank you. Gina, I've lived here all my life, pretty much all my 60 years of my life. I was born and raised here in Killeen. In fact, my parents were both born and raised here in Killeen. They graduated from Killeen High School, and I went up through the school system as well. Went to Eastward Elementary, Rancier Junior High, Killeen High School, and at that time there was only one school. There was just the Killeen High School. So it was the year after when Ellison was opened, was the year after. So we've got deep roots here. In 1987, my wife and I married. She's a graduate of Killeen High School in 1981. So we married. We've been married for 33 years. Our children grew up here, went to school here, went through the KISD school system, went to the elementary school here in Harker Heights, as well as middle school, and then graduated from Harker Heights High School. So we've got deep roots here. And many people may not know, but my father was he's still alive. He's 81 years old. He's slowing down a little bit, but he's a builder. He was a builder here in Harker Heights, and him and Dale Brugman built a lot of country trails in Harker Heights. So some people may not know that about my dad, but he grew up on a farm and pulled himself up by his bootstraps and got into the building business. And he actually had me when I was 10 years old. I was up on a roof nailing down decking up on a roof. So he taught me a lot about trades and building skills and things like that, and hard work. And I told him the other day, I said, Dad, today you couldn't have a kid up on the roof at 10 years old. You'd be in trouble. So, but he taught me a lot about hard work and those kind of skills. And so I've got a lot of experience in building as well as business. But that's kind of my background, my personal background. Again, my kids graduated from Harker Heights High School, went to Texas A&M. One of them graduated out here at the Central Texas A&M. The other one went to College Station. So again, we have deep roots here. We care about the community. I care deeply about the community. I love this area. You know, we've chosen to stay here, and you know, we just love this area, and we care about the future of our city. Some of my other experience has been with the school board. I was on the school board for 10 years. I served 3 years as board president. You know, during that time, we, you know, went through a lot of budgeting. I've got quite a bit of experience in budgeting. You know, the budgets range from 300 to 350 million. So, and I'm not going to take credit for being, you know, the brilliance behind the budgets. We have that Clean Independent School District has an excellent CFO. Her name is Megan Bradley. My wife would often watch the board meetings and come to the conclusion that she was the smartest one in the room. So very brilliant. But we dealt with a lot of big budgets. So I've got the experience with budgeting. I've got the experience with working with other board members. You know, when you have 7 people like we did on the school board, you're not always going to agree on everything. But I think we did a great job of, you know, after the vote, you vote and then you just move on. Because there's another vote coming, so you just learn to, you learn to get along, and I think, I've got those skills to get along with other people. We also worked with city and state officials as well as federal officials. We had to go to Washington, D.C. from time to time. Well, actually a couple times a year we'd go to Washington, D.C. Because we would meet with our Congressman Williams, Congressman Carter, and then the senators' staff, usually of Cornyn and Cruz. We would meet with their staff, but it was all about impact aid, as you probably know, that drives a lot of our funding with the school district. So we would meet with them to try to ensure that we continue to receive that money that we're not getting from public land, from the federal lands. So I've got a lot of experience with working with other federal officials. And during that time on the school board, we built 6 or 7 schools. One of those was the Career Center, which we spent about $30 million on that, which in today's dollars, it'd probably be twice as much in today's dollars. But at that time, it seemed like, wow, that was an easy decision to make. But at that time, everything was unknown. We didn't know if we could fill it. We didn't know if if it would be successful. So, I look back on that, and that was a very difficult decision. It was a lot of money. And we didn't know, what the outcome would be, but we went ahead and we planned and we did well building it. And it's been very successful for the community. So again, there was a lot of experience I have with the school district with building. I've got we dealt with a lot of different engineers and architects and things like that to get a lot of these projects done. And it really comes down as well to making the vote. When you got a $350 million budget, there's sometimes things that I'm a fiscal conservative, so I tried to give the school district everything they needed. But there was times when I would have to say no. I think this is too much, or whatever the case may be. But I think it takes somebody that can you want to be to get along, but you also want to be prudent with the taxpayer money. So I think that's some of the experience I have with in the public sector. In the private sector, I've been a small business owner for the past 31 years now. We just hit our 31-year anniversary. So 31 years in business. I know what it's like to sign a paycheck. I know what it's like to have 40 employees. It's those kind of things, and some of my experience, I believe, that would be an asset to the city council. I think the city council has been run well in the past. I feel like I look back over the past years. It's been past councils that have done a great job, I think, in bringing our city to where it's at today. And so the reason I'm running is not to disrupt anything, or I had a city employee that asked me the other day and asked me, why are you running? What are you trying to fix? And I said, I'm not really trying to fix anything. I just want to make sure the city continues in the path of positive growth in a direction that we've been going. I just want to see that it continues that way. So I don't have an axe to grind or anything like that. I'm very satisfied with our city manager and with the current council and the councils that were before them, that preceded them. I think they've just done a great job. That's not to say that we can't improve things, but that's kind of some of my personal experience, as well as my public and private business experience. I feel like I would be an asset to the council. That's not to minimize my opponents. Each one will bring their own set of life experiences and business experiences to the council. So I'm not minimizing that, but I do think you need at least a couple people on the council that have some business experience. As when I was on the school board, we had I depended on teachers and administrators a lot of times to give me feedback on issues that were related to the classroom. So and they would depend on me a lot of times for other experience. And one more thing I just happen to think of along the lines of my business experience, I've also done some small commercial development. So I have some experience with small commercial developments. Again, I know I have a lot of experience with right-of-ways and easements and ordinances and all those things that are applicable to the to the city. So I think I have a good understanding of those, and I think I would be an asset. There's always developments going on, so I think I would be an asset in that area. And as a matter of fact, we were planning a new small development and commercial development here in Harker Heights. We had the deal signed and everything, and then when COVID hit, we kind of backed down. But those are just some of my personal background and business background that I wanted to share. So.
No, and I think that's great, and I think we've all learned something, sir, about you, and I've known you for many years, and I learned something new today as well. So we're going to get into our questions, and today we have 8 questions. So we're going to start here with question number 1. And you kind of hit upon this a little bit, but you might want to elaborate a little bit more. Why do you want to be a council member in Harker Heights?
Well, again, I'm satisfied with the way the city's running, but as you know, Councilman Ryder is stepping down. He's hit his term limits. He's stepping down. I think a lot of John, and I just saw the need that maybe we need another councilman along those same lines of business, and again I'm satisfied with the direction of the city. Again, not to say that we can't improve some things, and I think if you ask the city manager, he'll tell you the same thing. There's always things that we can improve. So, but that's kind of my motivation. I'm not here to disrupt anything. Just to see the city continue to move in a positive direction.
Very good, sir. So question number 2, do you think our community is healthy and successful?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I do. You look back at how far we've come over the years, and I came here and I was born here in the area, lived here for the past 60 years, but we actually moved here in 95. So I've lived here for roughly 25 years, and so I've seen how far we've come in the past 25 years. We've come a long way. And if you even go back further, I think about what's defined Harker Heights. It's been a lot of our subdivisions. It started with Highland Oaks. I believe that was a pivotal point in our city, which that dates back to maybe the late 60s or 70s, or early 70s. But there was Highland Oaks, and then there was Tanglewood, and then Country Trails. I think Country Trails, all of those things, I think gave the city, really defined the city as a nice place to live with nice housing. Of course, we had the live oak trees and the Spanish oak trees and all those things that made our neighborhood beautiful. But I think it's those subdivisions that kind of begin to define our city, and that's where we saw our city begin to to move in and go beyond just a residential area, but to go into commercial as well. So those are just some of my observations.
Sure, absolutely. Well, sir, you said yes, that you feel that we are healthy and successful. So what steps would you take to ensure that we continue that growth and stay healthy?
Well, I think we have to be for example, on our ordinances, and I got a chance to work with the city a little bit when we were looking at that development here in Harker Heights. I got a chance to work with the city staff, and I think what I saw from the city staff, when you get into ordinances, there's a lot of things that you think you've got something covered, and you look, oh, whoops, there's something else over here that applies to this, so that negates what you thought you had. But I think what I found with the city staff is that they are willing to work with you, and I think that's important. I worked with another city who wasn't near as I guess, friendly, business friendly as Harker Heights. And it can be difficult, but I think it's important that we continue to do that. So I think if we continue in that same pattern of working with businesses and make sure ordinances, and this is the one thing that I would like to see, just make sure ordinances aren't too cumbersome. I mean, you have to have ordinances, but they can't be too cumbersome. And sometimes they make sense on paper, and then you see unintended consequences. And if I can maybe talk later about that if you want more information, because I've got more specific information about that, about the 2410 overlay specifically. That's the ordinances that govern 2410 on the building. And so there's a few things with that I think we can improve on that I found when we were looking at this development.
Okay. So question number 3, which of the following are most important for our city right now? New construction of residential and commercial, or rehabbing older residential and redeveloping those underuse areas, including our opportunity zones?
Well, that's a difficult question. Obviously we want to continue the growth of new construction. There's no question about that. I mean, and we've got some great subdivisions that are going up. There was one on, I believe it's Jubilee, up on top of the hill over here in Harker Heights where the water tower is. A beautiful subdivision overlooking the lake. So I think we have to do both. But if there's one more important than the other, I'm probably gonna go with the new construction, but that's not to minimize of what we can do with the older. And I think what you've seen in Harker Heights, a lot of older areas have been being renewed with duplexes and things like that, whereas before they were occupied by something else. But I think and that's happened naturally by sheer economics. It hasn't been, I don't think, necessarily anything that the city has done, but it's just been economics. An investor sees an opportunity and he takes advantage of it. And if there's anything we can do as a city to encourage that, I think that's great as well. But yeah, that's a good question. I think we have to have both. But I guess if I had to pick one, it would probably be the new construction.
Okay. So question 4, sir. If elected, what do you hope to accomplish as a city council member?
Well, again, I'm fairly happy with the direction of the city. And I think a lot of the council, the staff, I mentioned earlier, some of the ordinances. One of the things on the 2410 ordinance that I found, first of all, when you're paying as much money for property as 2410 is asking, the owners on 2410 often are asking, land is at premium. And so I think one of the things I've noticed is the parking, some of the parking ordinances. If you have 2 rows of parking, for example, in the front of your business, you have to have not only the landscaping, which I'm not opposed to the landscaping, but then you have to have a fence. So if you look at, and this is just a minor thing, but it's just an example. But if you look at if you go down the street here and you look at the Burger King, beautiful building, they've got a brick wall, a 4-foot brick wall in front of their business. I think it detracts from the business. But why do they have that? Well, the ordinance says you have to have this fence, but they don't define the fence. And you look further down the street and you would see the CVS pharmacy, which is now closed, but you see a wooden type fence. And if you're looking, you'll notice that most of these that have the double parking have the fence. I think we need to do a better job defining. I think what we want is this 2410 is a main corridor as well as the Stillhouse Hollow, or the Stillhouse Drive, Lake Drive. These are main corridors. We want to make sure that they are beautiful, aesthetic. We want to make sure that. So I think we just need to kind of better define some of these, maybe tweak them a little bit. And sometimes it may be where you're working with the city staff and they'll tell you, yeah, that doesn't make sense. But they're stuck with the ordinance that the council has passed, and they've got to enforce it. So I think that's one thing. I think the other thing that kind of frustrates me is the landscape ordinance. We've got a landscape ordinance, and there's a reason for that. But I don't know what we could do maybe to make that better. But here's what I find with that: you can make people abide by the ordinance, or when they put their business in, you can make them abide by the ordinance, but you can't make them keep the weeds out. I mean, you can make them cut them, but you can't keep them out. So I guess, is there something better we can do there? And, down the highway, if you look at Market Heights, they've got, I think our landscape ordinance may be on the trees, maybe excessive. If you look down when they're this, when they're 2 inches in diameter, they're not really a big problem, but as they grow, it becomes a problem, and especially if they're in an easement with a 3-phase power line underneath. If you look at Market Heights, you're fixing to start having some problems there with these trees growing up into these power lines. So, I think there's a few things that we can tweak, but again, I'm relatively satisfied with what our city's doing for the most part. But again, there's always things you can change. There's always things you can make better.
Absolutely. Wow. Okay, question number 5. A sense of community is important to a city. Since Harker Heights doesn't have that traditional downtown, what area or place would you suggest to develop as the new main street for our citizens to gather, meet, and develop that sense of community?
I don't know that we have a specific place for that. I would kind of, point to the City Hall area with the park as some kind of a place of gathering for the community. As far as, developing a quote-unquote downtown, I don't know that we've got the opportunity to do that, and I think that's going to take, it's going to take a developer, that would want to do that. So I'm not sure that the city could really accomplish anything like that. Maybe a great idea for an investor or developer to do that, but I'm not sure I could point to anything that the city would be able to do, for that type of downtown environment. But I guess the City Hall and the park area would be what I would call more for, gathering of citizens.
Okay. Let's see. And question number 6, how do you plan to keep our citizens engaged in the city planning and policy changes?
I think you just have to be, communicate with citizens, and maybe that's through Facebook, maybe that's, through, just being visible in the community. But I don't think it's really rocket science. I just think that you just have to be visible as an elected official. You have to be visible, and you have to, just let the citizens know, and whether that's through Facebook or personal contact, but just kind of let them know in that way.
Very good. Question number 7, what do you believe are the top 3 economic factors that impact the city of Harker Heights?
Well, obviously, this is probably going to sound like a broken record because I know you've heard it before, but it's the the veterans exemption. I know we've all talked about that. The city of Killeen, I believe they get reimbursed for that. We do not.
That is correct.
So that's $2.5 million. It's going up, I think, about 20% a year. So next year you may be looking at $3 million that we're losing in property tax revenue, and that's not to minimize. I don't want to come across as being critical of this exemption, because I think the state was did a noble job when they passed that relief to our 100% disabled veterans. So I want to be careful in how I frame that.
Sure.
But I think the state has created this, and it costs it costs us a lot of money, and it is continuing to grow as we speak. So I think that's probably the number one economic concern. And I do this next legislative session, this biennium is coming up in this January, I guess, is when we'll start that. I don't know if there's an appetite for that, but I think we have to try. And I don't know where we were, and I'm probably just as guilty as anybody else, but where were we when this was passed before?
Right.
How did we get cut out?
Yeah.
So, but I think there's always, Dr. Buckley, Brad Buckley, our state representative, I guess we'll see who will be our representative this next biennium. But I think he's been on our side and he's tried to help us. I'm not sure how much help we got from our senator. I just know that Brad has helped, and I'm not saying either way if we got any help from Senator Buckingham. I know Senator Buckingham. Maybe we should just maybe need to get involved with her a little bit more. And with Brad, but it's hard to move something in the state. The bigger governments you get, the harder it is to move. Mm-hmm. And so when we've seen what we've happened with the COVID, we're going to see lower revenue for the state. So is there going to be an appetite to fix that? I'm not sure, but I think we have to try. And whether I'm elected or not, I think we need to get involved. Me personally, I think we need to get involved in that, not just me, but other people in the community. We need to get involved with that and see if we can fix that. So that's the number one. The number two, I guess, would be the sales tax. We are still doing pretty well on sales tax, believe it or not. So that's positive. But with what all we see with online, purchasing, that is a concern. Will we be able to continue to grow in the area of sales tax revenue for the city? And I can tell you that it's I guess the prospects for new retail have kind of cooled a little bit because of the COVID. So and it affected us when we backed out. So it has affected the city some, but I guess that's a concern is can we continue to grow our sales tax revenue? And I guess the third is just economically, from a budgetary standpoint from the city, can we continue our services that our citizens expect with limited revenue? If you've got $10, do you spend it here or here? Where do you spend it? You have to make some tough decisions, and so you want to try to stay within the confines of our revenue that we're without raising taxes on the citizens. And as you know, we haven't seen a tax rate increase in a long time in the city, but we have seen much higher appraisals, and so the citizens are paying more in property taxes. They're just not, the rate hasn't gone up. So
Sure.
We just want to be wise with what we do, and I think just being able to maintain the level of service that citizens expect. We need roads and water and sewer and all those kind of things that we need. We need police. We need that. We need these kind of police and fire. We need those services desperately in the city.
Very good, sir. And thank you for pointing some of the things out and kind of clarifying that for our citizens watching us too. Now, the one final question that we have for you, and I know you've hit upon this a little bit already, but I would love for you to share a little bit more. What do you love about the city of Hiker Heights?
Well, I just, I think it's, first of all, my neighborhood. I like my neighborhood. I've lived there for 25 years. Recently we actually thought about maybe moving somewhere else into another subdivision in Harker Heights, but I love my neighborhood. We had some great neighbors, and I think just a great place to live, a great place to raise a family. Again, we raised our kids here. It's a great place to live, a great place to raise a family. And with Market Heights, I was here in the day, and you probably were too. There was nothing on that highway, and with Market Heights, you can pull in there and you can eat just about any kind of food you want to eat. You can shop. There's so much available now, just right here in this area of Harker Heights. So I guess that's what I love most about Harker Heights. I just think it's a great place to live, and I want to keep it that way. And I know I mentioned police in that other question that you asked me, but I just think it's so important that we support our police department. I did sign a pledge from Governor Abbott about supporting police, that we will not, I pledge that I will not defund police if I'm elected. He asked every elected official or everyone on the ballot to, that's going to be on the ballot this November to make that pledge. And I saw one Killeen City Council candidate that called that a political stunt. Well, but I disagree. I don't think it's a political stunt. I think this is very serious. What we're seeing across our nation with the anarchy and disrespect that we have, in some of our cities, and we do not want that to happen to Harker Heights. And so I'm going to be very open about my support for the police. I will continue to support them. Look, I was on the school board for 10 years. We had a few bad teachers, but we didn't defund the school system. You might have a bad doctor at a hospital, but you don't defund the hospital. And so I think that we have just got to make sure that we keep our city safe. And this burns in my heart, because it's not just about me, it's about the future generation of our kids. And it just breaks my heart when I see this happening in our country. So, and I think it even goes back to, again, sitting 10 years on the school board, I saw a lot of, we had to do disciplinary appeals. I saw a lot of things that would just shock you, of the disrespect for teachers and for our police officers on campus. It's just, it would just astound you if you knew what actually happens. And most of the kids, 80% of them are good, but you have a small segment that are not. But I think we've raised, unfortunately, we've raised a generation that don't have the respect that they should have for authority. So it's not just about police. Sometimes it's just disrespect for authority. But again, that's just one of the things that I think that we have to maintain in Harker Heights, is we have to because our state, our federal, our city, we place laws into place, and we expect somebody to enforce them, and they're for our own good. It's for the good of citizens that are, law-abiding citizens. It's for our own good. If you take something that doesn't belong to you, it's called stealing. Mm-hmm. If you're on somebody's property without their permission, it's called trespassing. If you destroy their property, it's called destruction of private property. So these things, these fundamental things, in our society, we've got to hold on to. So that's, I guess, one of the things that's just burning in my heart, that we want to make sure that Harker Heights stays a safe place to live, a great place to raise a family, send your kids to school, and those kind of things.
Well, thank you, sir, for sharing that. And before we close out, sir, is there anything else that you would like to tell the audience that maybe we didn't cover? And then please share with them why they should go and vote for you.
I think we covered quite a bit. I think my experience would be an asset to the council. Again, that's not to minimize my opponents. I just believe that my experience in public service as well as private business. Again, I know what it's like to sign a paycheck. I know what it's like to make a business work. I've made tough decisions on budgeting. I've made tough decisions on a lot of things, in the public sector. I'm not moved by pressure. I learned a long time ago, probably my first year on the school board, that I made a vote that I later regretted, and I made a vow to myself that I'd never do that again, because I want to go home and sleep at night. And my wife will tell you the same thing. It just bothered me, and I never did it again. I don't care how much pressure came upon me. I never did it again. I voted my conscience. I voted my heart. And I think that I would do the same on the city council. I would. I think I have the experience and the background, and I would like to have your vote November 3rd. So thank you.
Well, sir, thank you for taking the time and answering our questions, and for sharing not only your family history, but also a little bit more background of why you're running today.
Absolutely.
And again, we do want to remind you from the Harker Heights Chamber of Commerce, please get out and vote on November 3rd. Thank you for watching us today. Welcome to the Harker Heights Politics and Policy Chat. I'm your host, Gina Pence with the Harker Heights Chamber of Commerce. And today our segment is going to be covering Harker Heights City Council Place 4. Serving 3-year terms, the election will be held on November 3rd, 2020. And we will talk at the end of our session how important it is for you to get out and vote on November 3rd. Please know that we will be sending those friendly reminders out to you soon. So it's an honor today to have Miss Linda Nash with us, so thank you very much. And Linda has filed to run as a candidate for City Council Place 4. And Linda, could you share with our audience today a little bit more about you so they get to know you and why you've chosen to run for City Council?
Yes, I can do that quite easily. And thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for having this platform so that all of the candidates can get out their information. But I would just like to say good morning, Harker Heights. My name is Linda Nash, and I am a 17-year resident of the Bright Star of Central Texas. I also am a 20-year veteran of the retiree and veteran of the United States Army. I am from Fayetteville, North Carolina, by way of Syracuse, New York. I am the middle child of 11 children. I also have 3 children of my own, 2 girls and a boy. Ages 35, 29, and 16. My 16-year-old son, he is a member of the Harker Heights varsity basketball team, where I hold the position there of the co-leader of the booster club for the basketball team. I would like to let everyone know that I am completely engulfed in my city. I have lived here for a very long time, and I appreciate everything that our city offers, and that is evident by the things that I have gotten myself into as far as different organizations. I sit on the board of directors at the Harker Heights Food Pantry. I also am the Veteran Service Officer for the VFW Post 3892, also in Harker Heights, and I am the representative for Harker Heights with the Bell County COVID-19 Task Force. This is a great city that we live in, and I have seen the growth of it over these past 17 years. The growth has been tremendous. It's a beautiful city, and if you don't live here and you're watching this, come on down and join us.
Well, thank you for sharing, and I know we all learned a little bit more about you today, and thank you for your service too. We truly appreciate
You're welcome.
that. So, we're going to get started with a few questions today. So, Linda, the very first question, you kind of hit upon this a little bit, but I'll let you elaborate. Why have you chosen to run for a candidate for council member in Harker Heights?
Well, I was working at the Department of Veterans Affairs, and a coworker passed away, and I know that he had been there for over 20 years. And when that happened, he wasn't a close coworker, but we were friendly. And I just thought, I want to spend the rest of my life doing something that I really enjoy and that I can really be of service. And that was within my community. As I said before, my son is a junior at Harker Heights High School, so he's going to be graduating very soon. And it made me think, what am I going to do with the rest of my life when he leaves? I take care of my dad, so of course I will be doing that, but what would I do as a person, and what did I want? How did I want to leave my mark on the society and in the area that I live in? So I decided that running for city council was the first step into doing that.
Thank you. Do you think our community is healthy and successful? If yes, what steps would you take to ensure that we continue to grow and stay healthy? If no, what would you do to make a change?
Oh, yes. I do believe our city is healthy, is successful, but I also believe that our city is a tale of two cities. We have the north side and we have the south side. And on the south side of Harker Heights is where the majority, if not all, of the economic development has taken place. We have beautiful homes, and the median income for our entire city is approximately $74,000. However, we have the other side of Harker Heights on our north side, where there are food insecurities. There's not a pharmacy that's close by. There is not an urgent care. We have an antiquated public transportation system. The economic development has been minimum, and those are the things that we can improve. But overall, I think our city and our current and past city council members and our local leaders, they have done an outstanding job with the comprehensive plan that they've used to develop our city and to ensure the growth.
Very good. All right, we're kind of going into our next question already here. So, which of the following do you feel are the most important to our city right now? New construction of residential and commercial, or rehabbing those older residential and redeveloping the underuse areas, including those opportunity zones?
Well, I definitely believe the north side and rehabilitating the homes that are there. I kind of look at it as, as a sports team. When you have the winning team, they're not the ones that get the first round draft pick. You try to work on who isn't winning, like, the team that wins the Super Bowl. You don't give them the best player. So we have to start looking at, in my opinion, the north side so that we can all benefit from the growth that we have of our city. Inclusion and equity are so important, and it comes from the city government. We have to do it from the top. I've talked to many residents that live on the north side who feel like they've been forgotten. And one lady told me this weekend, she said, you do realize that this was Harker Heights This is where it began over here, and they feel left out, and they also feel like the other side, the city, for the most part, has just forgotten them, and that's not fair because we all live here.
Linda, if elected, what do you hope to accomplish as a city council member?
Whew. Well, when I'm elected, when I am elected, I believe wholeheartedly that the 100% property tax exemption that our veterans receive for being 100% disabled vets, that cripples us to a degree. If we received those funds, we could do things like build a senior citizen building so we can have our own. We can have that revenue to come in so that our taxes haven't gone up collectively, but so that we can have that revenue in the city, and so that it helps businesses and the residents. It helps all of us. And if we develop the north side of Harker Heights, then there's also businesses that's over there. So all of our citizens, regardless of their education level and work experience, that maybe that they will have the ability not to have to work two jobs, that they can have something that's substantial on their side where they can be able to go to it. So for me, inclusion and equity is what I would like to accomplish if I would use two words, including all the residents, regardless of where you live, and making sure that things are equal. And I'm not saying that businesses should give away their money or anything like that, but at least have the playing field equal.
Question number 5. A sense of community is important to a city. Since Harker Heights doesn't have that traditional downtown, what area or place would you suggest to develop as the new main street for our citizens to gather, meet, and develop that sense of community?
No, we don't have that. But I think 2410, when someone thinks of Harker Heights, that actually is our area. So I believe the area around Carl Levin Park, City Hall, the rec center, that area there would be a perfect opportunity because it meets everybody in the middle. The north side and the south side, we can meet in one location. And I think that would be a wonderful attribute to our city if we had that in there. I think that would be great. I have talked to our Parks and Rec director about doing a community garden over on the north side in Kern Park, and I'm currently working with some organizations and trying to get that to be developed. However, I think with our community park that we currently have right now at Carl Levin, having the people just around there in that area, I think that would be great.
Very good. Question number 6. How do you plan to keep our citizens engaged in city planning and policy changes?
I believe that we have to, how a citizen becomes engaged. I remember when I wasn't that citizen that was completely engaged. And I think partly for me, it wasn't marketed to me. It didn't seem like it was important to anyone else. That was the culture that I felt like I was in. So I believe the more that we market and say, there's the city council meetings, that we publicize it, that, even if we had a billboard saying, tonight is the city council meeting, or join the chamber. I talk to new businesses, and when I speak with them and I say, have you joined the chamber? The chamber, why would I do that? And I start talking to them about that. I think the chamber does an excellent job with businesses that are business savvy, but sometimes when you're a smaller business, you may not know about the chamber. Mm-hmm. Because if you did, then there's lots of things that are given as far as the information is concerned. So between advertising in some capacity, as well as just having it available everywhere.
Question number 7. What do you believe are the top 3 economic factors that impact the city of Harker Heights?
Well, of course, small business, and most of our businesses here in Harker Heights are small business. Fort Hood has the larger one by it being the military base, period. But our citizens and our business owners they impact everything. For me, the economic spillage that most people would incur because they will shop in another city, I personally very rarely shop anyplace else except for in Harker Heights. When I go to Starbucks, they know me because they know that I'm coming through there. When I go into Walmart, the greeters know who I am because I shop in my city. Now I know that that's not, everybody can't always do that, and I can't either. But I believe as a citizen of our city, we have to look at what our economic spillage is and keep it within our wheelhouse as much as possible and not go out to other places. But in saying that, we also have to have things here that we can be able to go to and say, okay, I don't need to go to Chick-fil-A, which we have our own Chick-fil-A. So I don't have to go to Killeen or Temple to go to Chick-fil-A because we have it. But I think that those are the things there.
Okay. Question number 8. You hit upon this a little bit in the beginning, but I would love for you to elaborate a little bit more for everyone watching today. What do you love about the city of Harker Heights?
Well, let me tell you, everything I said. I absolutely adore this city. And I have people that laugh at me. They say, I never met somebody that lives in such a small city who talks about them as though they live in a larger place. I love the quietness. I love the diversity. I love that it feels like a utopia here, and that's how I describe it. But I also know that the rest of the world isn't like Harker Heights, and I'm not comparing Harker Heights to the rest of the world because this is where I live. But it does have, it has definitely a feeling of home for me. I've lived in bigger cities. I've traveled all over the world with the military, but this is the place that I chose to stay. And I plan on being here until well after that day comes.
Well, Linda, thank you for sharing with us today, and thank you for answering all the questions. I know it's been very enlightening to all of us, and I am going to now allow you to do your closing remarks, and if you could share with our audience why they should go out and vote for you.
Well, Harker Heights, I believe you should come out and vote for me because I will serve this community the best of my ability to make sure that we are all thriving and that we all benefit from living in such a great city and such a great location. There are so many things that I could say about this city, but I will say this. And I said this before, our past and our present city council members have done an outstanding job as far as planning out how our city is. However, we need to add in all citizens. We need to be more inclusive. And how we become more inclusive is we help the North Side with their rehabilitation of their homes, economic development, providing public transportation, giving them access to pharmacies in their area, as well as a food source so that they don't have to go to a corner store or to a restaurant in order to get fresh fruit and vegetables. I believe in voting, so whomever you decide to vote for, just come out and vote. I hope that it's me, and I hope you have a great day. Early voting starts October 13th, and the election day is November 3rd, and I hope to see you at the polls.
Well, thank you, audience, and again, a friendly reminder, please get out and vote on November the 3rd.